everybody, and welcome to my podcast, Transitions of Hope. I'm your host, Maryann Roefaro. Am I grateful that you're still hanging out with me? Thank you. I hope that these podcasts come into your life, create a little curiosity, and just kind of open a new awareness. So tell me, I am so excited for our guest today, Janet Ridgeway. I've known Janet for many years. I'm going to tell you a little story about her. But first, the true introduction. Janet Ridgeway, friends, has been working as a professional animal communicator since 2000. She is a Reiki master trained in shamanic healing, pranic healing, and Palladian light work. Vibrational healing and Eden energy method and incorporates these healing modalities into her work. I'm going to just skip a little of this, but you can go to janetridgeway.com and read all about her and get every detail. She teaches classes in animal communication, Reiki, meditation, spiritual development. She's provided consults for thousands of clients worldwide over the past 24 years, including vets, animal rescue groups, shelters, and zoos. She actually received an MFA in creative writing and poetry from Syracuse University and a BA in English and creative writing from UW-Madison. She's taught a variety of writing courses, including poetry, fiction, business writing, composition, rhetoric, and literature, as well as an editor and writing consultant at Syracuse University. Okay, she's got a lot of stuff, but I'm going to tell you a story about Janet. So, of course, Janet has been to my house and has met my animals. I want to tell you a story about Rosie. Rosie was my first grandpup, and Rosie lived in an apartment with my daughter for a number of years, and then they moved to a house, and Rosie was pooping all over the floor instead of on her potty pads. So I said to my daughter, Janet Ridgeway to the rescue. I will contact her and get a reading. So Janet went over to my daughter's house and Rosie said to Janet, I understand why I had to use potty pads when we were at the apartment, but I look out the door and I see a lot of grass, and I don't want to go on those potty pads anymore. So after Janet left, Casey picked up the potty pads, and Rosie never had an accident again. So, Janet Ridgeway. I have so many questions, and I'm sure everyone does. I've been telling people, guess who I'm having as a guest? Animal communicator. They're like, oh my God, when is it going to air? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I got a lot in the pot, so I'm not sure. But okay, so Janet, I want to start with how did you know you had this gift? When did it start? Give me the scoop.
Well, here's the thing. I thought everybody had what I had. You grow up watching Disney and all the animals talk and it's no big deal. And I really believe, when kids are fresh from the other side,
yes,
they really remember, their natural birthright, which is we're supposed to kind of have what people call extrasensory perception, but I don't see it as extra. I see it as what we all have. And so it was just normal for me. And I really thought everybody had it, but I thought they ignored animals the way they ignored children and just kind of didn't pay attention to what they were saying. So I just kind of quietly went about my business knowing what they were saying and would just not say anything to adults. Because
and was it every animal? Could it be a bunny? Could it be anybody?
Yeah.
You're like Dr. Doolittle.
Yeah. I had a squirrel that was at my house when I was like probably first grade, and he would walk me to school. And nobody believed me. I'd be like, this is the same guy. He'd come down the tree. He'd walk me to the end of the block. And I'd tell him, don't cross the busy street, go back to where you were. And he would. He'd turn around, he'd come back, and he knew what time I got done with school, and he'd come to the big tree. And, nobody really believed me. And that was when I really started thinking, what is wrong with these people? They don't understand what the squirrel's all about. They don't understand that he's walking me to school. So I just kind of kept it to myself for the most part because adults just didn't seem to understand.
Oh my gosh. And then, so then how did it come out? Like, how did it progress?
Well, it's kind of like anything with children. When they get older, they start focusing on, their friends and boys and classes and all that stuff. And so I was just kind of a normal kid and did all of that. And it wasn't until, this is slipping out. It wasn't until I was a little bit older that I started working at a doggy daycare place and doing pet sitting. And so you had to leave a note that said, Fido did number 1 or number 2, because they wanted to know, did they pee?
Yes.
Did they poop? Did anything happen?
How old were you at this time?
Oh, geez. At this point, I was my late 20s.
Okay.
But I had been pet sitting for people, and everybody knew I had this weird thing with animals that I just kind of dismissed, like, okay, whatever. Everybody has this. And then I would leave a note, and instead of just saying they did this or that, I'd say, well, and why did you move the couch? And they don't like the dish, and the cat is doing this. And I'd leave these notes that to me were just reporting on what happened.
Yeah.
And they started calling the agency because I had this non-compete clause, but people were calling because they wanted my number, because they were like, this woman knows what's going on. I moved the couch back. I couldn't figure out why my dog was, and I didn't even know the dog would be having a problem at home. They'd say, I couldn't figure out why my dog was depressed or whatever. And so they called me in, and I said, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just leaving notes. And finally, one of the ladies left a note for me and asked for my number, and asked if, she said, so you're a pet psychic? And I was like, no, I'm not a pet psychic. I don't know what you're talking about. And so she had me come over because she said, I have some other questions since you kind of nailed what was going on. And I said, I don't know if I can do this on demand. It's just whatever comes to me. So I started telling her what was going on. And as I'm opening my mouth, it's just coming out. And I can see her and her husband, their faces looking at me like, what in the world? And then she started referring me out to people. And she asked for my business card. And I said, I don't have a business card. I don't know what you're talking about. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I lived in Boston at the time. I'm literally walking on the street, and I see this sign on a post, and it says animal communication class. And I thought, well, that's intriguing. I wonder what that's about. So I went, and it was this woman. She's world famous now. I mean, I guess she was then, but Amelia Kincaid is her name. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No, I've only heard of you, Janet.
Yeah. I'm the only one to really hear about. But she lived in California and had been doing it for a long time and was teaching this class. And I thought, okay, well, that seems interesting. Let me take it. And then when I went to the class, there had to be 200 or 300 people in this auditorium, and the people would come up and they'd have their dog or their cat or their whatever, and they'd ask a question. And she taught us, it was basically just meditation. And by that point, I had been meditating pretty seriously for at least 10 years. And it was like, drop into this space. And it was just basic stuff I had already been doing. And so I thought, well, that's it. That's the whole teaching. Not that that's it, because it's a discipline, and that's how you really get, the inner work done. But when they were up there, they'd say, okay, write down the answers to the question. So she'd say, my dog seems to be limping. I can't figure out what's going on. And so people had their things, and I'd kind of raise my hand and say, well, I'm not getting that at all. I'm getting, and then I'd read what I got. And then Amelia would say, oh, that's what I got too. And I'd be like, oh, okay. So pretty soon they kept coming back to me, even when I didn't raise my hand. And then I felt very sheepish about it. I was like, stop coming to me, because I felt awkward. And afterwards I went up to her because I bought her book. And she asked me to come out to dinner with her and some other people. And
because she could see how gifted you were.
Yeah. She said, what do you do for a living? I said, I teach English. And she said, no, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So she added me to her website.
Wow.
Like immediately. And I started taking clients.
Are you like 30 by now or no?
Yeah, I'm probably about 30.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I started taking clients over the phone, where they just sent me pictures. And because this is, I'm old enough to be pre-internet stuff. So they would send pictures and questions and a check, and I would call them. And and it just went from there. And it was crazy to me, because I thought, people really need this? And it's not obvious to them what's going on with their pets. And it turned out it wasn't.
Wow. Okay. So how do you get info from these pets? How do they communicate? And also, do you communicate with dead people? I think you do, right?
I do.
Yes.
I try not to.
Right. Well, I mean, I know that when I've had you at my house, and, my dog Bella was my former husband's, and, he was there, and you communicated with him. So I know that you have that ability that goes beyond animals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And so do they communicate the same way, people and animals? How do you do it?
Well, it's interesting, because For me, for animals, it's feelings in the body, it's images, it's thoughts, it's hearing, but I don't hear it as a separate voice. And that's one of the things I teach people about because they think it's going to be kind of like the burning bush, like the voice of God, and it's going to be, like James Earl Jones or whatever voice coming at him. But it's your own voice in your head,
Right.
and it just comes through as thoughts.
Does it come from a different place in your head? Like when I'm connecting with spirit, I always get it in one place that's different than my own thoughts.
That's interesting.
And when I'm writing and I'm like, getting inspired, I mean, when I wrote that Millie book, there were times when I would finish a chapter and the spot over my right ear would be burning. It would hurt. It would be like sore, like overworked.
Interesting.
As if it was like, your cell phone on a busy day where it gets kind of warm. Oh. And I'd be like, and it was interesting because someone taught me that, oh gosh, I was probably in my, I don't know, I was young. And they said, they said to me, roses are red, finish it. And so, but don't say it out loud. And they're like, do that like 100 times and figure out where in your head roses or blue come from. Someday you'll get a message from somewhere else and you'll recognize it. And then just like any other muscle or any other skill, practice makes perfect. So keep doing it. So my mother died when I was young. I was going to never let her really die. I had to keep her alive. So I had to learn to communicate, but I'm not a medium. I don't do any of that, but it is very interesting that it does come from a different place in my head. Very noticeable to me. I know when someone I love that I allow to speak to me or some divine being, I know exactly because it's in a totally different place.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Is it like that with you or is it all the same?
No, but I kind of wish it was because that would make it more specific because like, for example, I went last night to help this dog and as I'm driving, I'm going and I'm clearing my throat and my neck is hurting and I'm thinking, what in the world did I do aggressive sleeping last night and and I can't work out my body. And then I get there and it's all the dog's stuff.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, I've been doing this 25 years. You would think by now I would recognize that I start picking up the animal stuff before I even get there.
Right.
But so it just comes as like a full body thing and then it'll switch. So sometimes it'll be like, I'll feel whatever they're feeling in their body and then it'll switch to thoughts in my head. And then it'll be like an image will pop in. My guides like to use cartoons and sitcoms and music because that's a lot of what my life was immersed in when I was younger. I watched a lot of sitcoms and I listened to a lot of music. So there's times where it'll come as like a memory of something or a nudge. I'll be trying to give a metaphor for something and I'll say, that Seinfeld episode? And they'll say, I love Seinfeld. And I'm like, of course you do. That's why it's coming into my head. Right. But that's our common thing. Right. So it comes a variety of different ways and I never know how it's going to show up.
Well, I don't ever get any info from my pets. I wish I did. And, it's, I don't have like that kind of gift, but tell me about, do you think everyone could develop a gift like that?
Yeah, I was just going to say you are getting information from your pets. You don't recognize it. And the reason it's subtle. So if I had to ask you, for example, what is the way that you think you receive information the most? Like are you more visual? Are you auditory? Are you feeling?
Probably feeling.
Okay. So like a clairsentient.
Yeah, probably at least with my dogs. I mean, I try to look at their eyes and just know what they're thinking and know what they're saying. And,
that usually doesn't work. They just look at you like, why are you staring at me like that?
Well, normally Bella's just looking for some treats, but I can sometimes see in her eyes if, if something's just not totally perfect. Or,
Sure.
Yeah. But no, I don't, tell us, how do we develop this gift?
Well, that's part of it is identifying how you already pick things up. And so because you already pick things up as a feeling, it's
Although
natural.
I do hear things, but that's good. Different.
Yeah. So we all have more than one. There's usually one or two that are sort of our strength. Mine was always feeling and hearing. And the visual came last. So I was always fascinated when someone's like, oh, look, I see this and I see that. And I'm like, you see it? Because to me, that just seems more profound than the way I was picking things up. So I thought what I was picking up wasn't really legitimate because it's just, you dismiss it, right? Because
Mhm.
it's the way you always pick things up.
Right.
And so a lot
Isn't
of
that
it,
interesting, though, how we do that to ourselves?
I know.
Everybody else has got a better way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm missing on that. Yeah, I'm totally like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I have a friend who's very, very clairvoyant. And every time I see him, I'll go, you got something in your energy field right here. You want me to get rid of that? And I'm like, yes, please. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
in the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he can see it. And to me, that's fascinating because I don't see like that.
Yes.
But if you said, well, what are they saying? He's like, I don't know. I can't hear, but I can see
Right.
what's around them.
Right.
So some of it, the first step is identifying how you pick things up, kind of doing what you were saying, paying enough attention to it. And you were talking about the roses are red
Yes.
thing, making sure that you do certain exercises to notice it when it's coming in, and doing it with people or animals or objects or things that you know nothing about.
Okay.
Because we just think, oh, well, I'm just picking that up because I know that person.
Right.
Which is what I thought with animals. It's like,
Right.
oh, I just know what the cat's thinking because it's my friend's cat and I've
Right.
met him and
Right.
she's talked about him and that kind of thing. So really isolating that and then practicing it, having some sort of meditative practice where you're receiving, because most of us are blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And we're transmitters, but it's very rare that we just sit and be in a receptive state. It's hard for people.
Mm-hmm.
So teaching them how to be receptive. And then also as you're doing that, doing a notice and focus, right? What do you feel? What do you think? What do you see? How is it coming through? And at the end, writing down anything that comes to them. Is it a song in your head? Is it a sitcom? Is it, because you dismiss it because you think,
Mhm.
well, my mind is just wandering to other places.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would have thought, oh, my mind is wandering to the Seinfeld episode, okay, why would I be thinking about Seinfeld when I'm supposed to be in the middle of this session? So now, of course, anything that pops in, I say it
Right.
because I've had enough practice. So a lot of it
Right.
is also not dismissing
Right.
what's coming through, because we just dismiss it as not related or it's not a thing or my mind is wandering. But really it's the universe, whatever your belief system, God, your guides, your guidance system, bringing in all the stuff that you already know about and using that as a way to connect with somebody or something.
Mhm.
And then you start to go with a parallel. You go, oh, okay, that's the message that they're trying to get across. And then whoever you're conveying the image to will get it, right? There's times I say things that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. And they
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
I'll say, I don't know what this is. And I'll just describe it. And
Right.
it takes a level of practice and confidence to do
Right.
that, to just describe. And it's what they do with remote viewing, right? They go, what do you see? What do you feel? What's the color? What's the shape? That kind of thing, where you're just reporting. Even if you look back at, the Bible, when they're trying to describe different things that are sort of futuristic,
Mhm.
that they say, well, I had this vision. And how do you explain an airplane to somebody who
Right.
centuries before has never seen it? They're going to
Right.
describe it as, a metal winged bird or
Right.
whatever. So you
Right.
just have to kind of say what's there. And so that's a lot of what I teach is it's really slowing down the process that you already have so that you notice it and you get more confident.
So you actually teach animal communication?
Mhm.
Do you do it by Zoom or do you have to come to Syracuse, New York?
Well, I've taught it here. I've traveled places. I'm available for travel. Usually if I get a certain amount of people in a
Mhm.
class, usually
Mhm.
someone will host it. If they host it, I'll just say, okay, if you find a place and host
Mhm.
it, you can take the class for free.
Mhm.
Just get X amount of people, enough to
Yeah.
cover me
And
to get
people
there.
would just and people would just contact you through your website for
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. I'm working on putting it online. I'm going to do a self-paced study class where I think the best way for me to do it is probably either every 2 or 3 weeks, where I have an hour long in-person Zoom where after people practice and get to a certain point, they can
Mhm.
come on. I can give them pictures of animals, ask questions so they can get
Right.
some practice and get feedback
Right.
in real time, because that's part of it is the feedback. If they're,
Definitely.
I mean,
I was just going to I was thinking that because I was like, well, how would I ever know if I was even on point or not?
I've seen other animal communicators have like on Daily Ohm or, those classes where you just pay a fee and you go on and you practice. But it's practicing in a vacuum in a way, because you don't get the feedback from the teacher. You don't get the feedback from other students in the class.
Right.
And then it's always the question, well, how do I know if I'm right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I like to do it in person. I just like in-person things better,
Yeah.
especially after COVID. I don't really want to do Zoom anything again.
You know, it's funny. I remember when I took a meditation course and, I was, working hard, and the teacher, who was a medium and a really wonderful spiritualist, looks at me and says, Maryann, you can only get so wet from the rain.
Okay.
And I thought, I know. I had such a hard time trusting anything that I heard, anything that I thought, because, that was probably 20 years ago. And you say to yourself, well, other people can do this, but this certainly isn't me.
Yeah.
Not to mention my career was extremely, business oriented and science oriented. And, I traverse these two worlds all the time.
Right.
And I loved that I'm retired because I don't really care now what people think. But,
Same.
Yeah. But, Janet, wouldn't you say that one of the most difficult things is for people to trust their instincts, just trust themselves and believe that maybe what they hear is real?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the way that most of us are raised. We're trained to, trust the government, trust the church, trust your parents, trust the teacher, trust everybody except yourself, your own judgment, right? You kind of conform to whatever society tells you.
Which is why a lot of people feel very guilty to venture outside whatever that was that they learned that was ingrained when they were young, I've noticed through my life.
Absolutely. Luckily, I was not afflicted with that problem.
Yes.
Got me in trouble a lot when I was a kid. I was like, these are the rules you're supposed to follow. And I go, okay. And then I just go do whatever I kind of wanted to do because it didn't make sense.
Right.
I literally felt like everybody's making it up in this weird way and everyone's following it. And I just kept thinking, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And I just kept going, okay, when I'm 18, this is all over with. This is nonsense. And as soon as I'm free, I'm going to go and do my thing. And I know that might be unusual, but I just always had that.
Yeah.
I just came out that way and it's not going to change.
Another thing I'll tell people is, well, you could, have that reading by phone. There is no time or distance, it's energy, it's vibration, and people have a hard time with that. They think like you got to be right there because you can't, I mean, like, do your dogs talk to you like from home right now? Like, could you, if you wanted to, connect with them and find out what's going on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's a double-edged sword, right? Because people say, well, it must be so nice to know what your animals are thinking. And it's like, well, yes and no. Because once they know I know what they're thinking, then they bother you with all kinds of nonsense. Right. I want this, I want that.
Yeah. Tell us a little about this nonsense. Because I love, Bella just looks at me, which I know all she really is looking for is treats. And
but see, not always. Not always.
I mean, she'll just,
gives you that look.
Yeah, you're starving me and,
Yeah,
but
clearly.
Yeah, but tell me some of the stuff that your pets bother you with. I find this fascinating.
Well, like my current dog, Bootsy.
Yeah,
have you met Bootsy?
No.
Okay. Bootsy is an 8.2 pound Morkie.
Okay.
He's a Maltese Yorkie mix.
Okay.
And he thinks he's about 150 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll do things like, I'll be sitting doing some work and he'll be staring at me and I'll hear in my head, can we go yet? Can we go yet? Can we go yet? How about now? How about now? How about now? And I'm like, I'm doing something. Mom's finishing this. When I finish this or I finish typing or whatever, and I'll tell him 15 minutes, give me 15 minutes. And he'll go, and then he'll go lay down or he'll go do whatever. And then, of course, 15 minutes passes.
Now, when you communicate with him, do you say it out loud? Or do you
Sometimes
do it?
I say it out loud. Usually I just say it in my head.
Okay, so you're telepathically communicating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll just be like, not now, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden 15 minutes passes and there he is looking at me. And I won't know it, but I'll hear in my head, how about now? How about now? 15 minutes has passed. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And then I'll say 5 more minutes. And he's like, oh, So you kind of have to be more careful what you're promising them.
Right.
And I'm very specific because I'll say, I'm going to be gone for an hour. Okay. And then if I get delayed or something's happening, all of a sudden I hear in my head, when are you coming back? What's going on?
Right.
And then I'll send an image of, oh, I ran into so-and-so. So I'll just show them. I start talking or I hit traffic. I'll show them cars. And, as soon as I do that, both of my dogs would be like, oh, yeah, traffic. Because they've been in the car with me. They know that's the one place I swear a lot.
I feel terrible like when I go away or something and I try to, there was one animal communicator or something at one point I remember either hearing a few years ago that said something like, talk to them on how many sunrises, So I'll be sitting there looking at my dog. I'll be like, 4 sunrises, 1, 2, and of course, my husband thinks I'm cracked a little bit, and because, he's thinking, what, like, they don't know,
They do though.
So do you think that is true? Do they truly understand us?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he'll say to me, I think they have like, a vocabulary of 8 words. I don't think they're gonna.
Your husband says this?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to have to talk to him.
Yeah.
When this is over, I'm calling you.
So, I mean, they do understand it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like kids and adults, just like anybody, we have selective hearing and selective listening.
Yes.
So a lot of times, especially about cats, people will say, well, I'll say this and this to my cat and they just do whatever they want. I'm like, yeah, because they're a cat.
Right.
They'll go like herd and then go and do whatever they want to do. Right. So you have to be able to, there has to be something in it for them too. Like if you want, let's go back to your example of, this many sunrises.
Right.
I get a lot of people that get very anxious before they go out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And rightly so. Right. I left for a month 2 summers ago.
I remember.
Yeah. My dog went 3 different places because I didn't want to overburden someone with having him for a month. But also he's popular. He's got a lot of friends. So, so I would tell me when the switchover happens so I know you made it safely to the next place. And I would just tune into him and show him what I was doing. Like a lot of times you think about your pets, especially if you're traveling, you're doing something interesting. They're not on your mind all day. You're busy. Like I'm in Paris, I'm at the Louvre. I'm not thinking about my dog.
Right.
So in the morning I would wake up, I'd pretend to be petting him. Like I get this visual of, oh, there's Bootsy. Yeah. And I'd be like petting him and, sort of in my mind, or before we go to sleep, I'd visualize him sleeping with me and I would tune in and just show him, this is what mom's doing. But if he came up during the day in my mind, I'd throw out like, how you doing? And I'd wait and see what I got back. And sometimes I get like, because he'd be in the middle of playing or doing whatever. And other times he'd show me, I'm bored, I'm not doing anything. And I'd be like, well, maybe go see what their other dog is doing and or go to the people and ask him to take you out. And so it'd be just like if you were texting or FaceTiming your kid.
Okay.
When you were gone.
So, and it's interesting. I remember once you said to me, when you're on vacation, don't be sad. Don't be sending like sad stuff.
Yes.
So I try to do that.
Good.
I try to I'll think and even actually when I'm away for one of the boards I'm on, I'll be like, good night, Bella. Good night, Millie. Good. And I'll do the whole routine.
Yeah.
As if I'm there, probably. And then I think to myself, well, if nothing else, it's making me feel better, but Yeah. But yeah. And, okay. So now tell me also about this. So souls of animals.
Yeah.
Same place as souls of people.
Oh, definitely. Why would we want to go somewhere where they weren't?
I know. And I know that. No However, I've had arguments with people about this.
What?
There's some people who don't even believe that I think everything has a soul. I mean, I even think stuffed animals, I'm a little cracked like that. I mean, I can't throw any out because I feel like that would hurt their feelings to be thrown. Yeah. It's terrible.
I understand. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. So, and how about reincarnation for pets? It's true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was said best to me by a cat one time. This whole family, this cat was, 20 years old and grew up with the kids. I mean, I think they got the cat at the same time one of their kids was born. So they wanted me to come and, see what the cat had to say. And they were going to assist in crossing. They weren't sure if they were going to assist in crossing her over, if she was going to go on her own. And she had these really beautiful messages for everybody. And it was very nice. And she said, I'm going to pass tonight. Which I don't always get that message. They don't always tell me that specifically.
Are you afraid to say that when they say that?
If they tell me, my job is to say exactly what they're saying.
Okay.
So I used to be a little, if it's something weird, there's times where I'll go, okay, I'm just going to say this, and this is them talking, not me. And then I just make it clear, like a don't shoot the messenger kind of thing. I mean, I've had them talk about people's sex lives,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
why are you in that bed and he's in this bed? Or why don't you two have sex anymore? And here I am just mortified going, well, and then the husband will be like, that's what I keep asking. And, so then it just opens up this really funny dialogue. And of course, there's no HIPAA laws regarding what I do, but it's all, it's confidential.
Sure, of course.
But, so so this cat was conveying all these messages. And then the mom said, I really wish that you'd be able to come back to us. Are you going to come back to us? And he said, oh yeah, I'm going to come back again. And she said, but how are we going to find you? Are you going to come back to us? And he looks, and he was like really unwell.
Right.
And he sat straight up and he looked at them and he goes, you think I'm going to break in a whole new family? You know how long it took me to get you where I wanted you to be? And they were like laughing and crying.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that makes so much sense.
Right.
The cat's going to come back to the same family because it's just a continuation of the work.
And the cat will find them.
And the cat will find them. Correct.
Yes, because I know, I can remember once there was a call I had. Gosh, I can remember I was a VP at Krause and I had a call with a medium or something. And she's like, what's up with the little white dog that follows you everywhere? And I said, oh, yeah, she's not born yet and I don't have her yet. But at some point in the future, I will have this little white dog. I've been waiting for her, but I have to wait till the time is right. And of course, I was 50 something years old when I got Millie, the little white dog. Yeah. But I know that our souls I don't know what she was before. She could have been, anything. My hamster that I used to cry over his head and hope that he didn't die, and all of that kind of stuff. But so people have a hard time, like I remember, well, this was interesting. I remember once I went to lunch with a priest and I liked this priest, but okay. And we had an argument about souls and he felt that only humans had souls. And I argued with him. And then finally I gave up and I said, well, you'll just have to see when you die then that, you see all the dogs and all that.
Yeah. Come and tell me. Come on the other, when you're on the other side and let me know what you see.
Yeah. But so talk to us a little about in your work, is it a common thing for dogs to reincarnate and come back to their same family? And will you know that? Like, will they tell you that sometimes?
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people think, well, I have to get the same breed and it has to look the same or their personality has to be exactly the same. There will be similarities, but animals don't come onto the planet because it's like, oh, I was a really bad dog in the last life. I better come back and like work that out.
Right.
That's not what they're doing.
Right.
When humans incarnate, animals don't have the same veil between worlds that we have. We have this veil.
Right.
And we come down and I pretend to be Janet and I have my job and I drive my car, but I'm really this soul that is inhabiting this body. And when I cross, then I remember, oh yeah, all the other things, who I was and the entirety of who I am as a spirit. So if I remembered all that and I remembered the other side when I was down here, I'd be like, check, please. We wouldn't want to be here.
Exactly.
But animals don't have that. They don't have that veil. So they can see their guides, our guides, animals who've crossed, people who've crossed. I mean, if you've ever been in a house with a cat and they look up at the ceiling and go, you're like, they're seeing things that you don't see.
Yes. And that is one thing my pups are very good at, seeing dead people.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they're just accustomed to that. So they live in a fifth dimensional energy. And so they're able to really navigate that and be able to put themselves in positions where you're going to find them, where they're going to find you. They'll help you make decisions. So many people will say, oh, my one animal passed and I really think that animal steered me toward my new pet. And that's absolutely true. They do that a lot. It's like, no, don't go over there, go over here. Or you show up at the shelter or whatever the place is, and all of a sudden one comes forward. Right. So it might be your past dog shoving the other one forward and saying, okay, come on.
Right. Right. How beautiful. Yeah. See, if we could ever focus on the beauty of all that is like that and the real love that binds every single element and organism and everything else, how beautiful this world would be. Instead of all the, anger and people are so upset and so intolerant. And
Well, here's the thing. I think we are moving toward that.
me too.
I mean, all evidence to the contrary, depending on what you're focusing
Right,
on.
right. But
Right?
from a celestial point, I do feel it. I do think we are evolving, and I do think we are
Absolutely.
entering some very special times.
I totally agree. And it's kind of like the metaphor I like to use is if you're sick and you need to heal, you're down for the count. You might be detoxing, you're coughing, you're sneezing, you're running a fever. All those things are your body's way of purging something. That's kind of what I feel is happening with the earth and the planet right now.
Yes.
We're detoxing the lower energies. And sometimes when that happens, it has to be over exaggerated, right? It's almost cartoonish in some
Correct.
ways what's going on right now.
Yes.
So you look around and you go, what in the world
Right.
is this? And if you think, okay, this is about as low as we can go, that's what all of a sudden has made a lot of people wake up and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? From my point of view, this has always been going on.
Correct.
But now it's amplified.
Yes.
So once that's amplified and the attention is on this, then we can purge that and start rising to a higher level and making different choices and saying, is this really how we want to live? So it's like we're detoxing this 3D energy
Yes.
and moving into something higher.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah.
And I talk about a lot of that on these podcasts. And, the whole purpose of this podcast is for, people to get out of their, I say to everybody, there is this sphere of knowing that you have. And regardless of how ginormous it is, there is stuff that resides outside.
Absolutely.
But be open-minded and flexible. So to do that, you have to accept that some of your premises on things may be flawed or incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Or you may have to accept that those people who were your heroes and your people you looked up to who taught you everything perhaps didn't have, all the correct information.
Yeah.
Those are difficult things. I mean, I think, I have met people who are struggling to expand their consciousness because they're really, well, this is it,
Right.
and this is what I was taught. And, this is just how it goes. And
So fear-based. A lot of it's fear-based.
Very much fear-based, and I mean, it's a whole thing, to that whole book is all about, traversing with love instead of with fear, because it's the only way for us to have that freedom. And, but there are so many people I meet who think that reincarnation is crazy. It doesn't happen. And, it's just one shot you get. And then, my favorite is that, everybody, I mean, it's a terrible thing, but everybody just comes back and their ashes all form into human and everyone stands up at the end and it's all this big resurrection. And I think, wow.
Right?
Wow.
I mean, we have to make up stories in order for the human mind to really understand what's going on, right? And we pass down these stories for generations to give us hope, to give us order, to give us structure, to give us something to hang on to, right? Like the what is it all about question is enough to keep anybody up at night, right?
Yes.
What's going to happen to me when, we're at the age where our parents have passed or are about to pass. And we see that and we go, well, where did they go? Well, then those same people get visitations, right? They say, oh, I feel like my dad is here.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, if your dad is here and he's over there, but you don't believe he's going to come back, where is he?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and then people can't answer those questions. So it's like they make these weird lines about a truth or reality that doesn't really make sense when you start to interrogate it.
Right. Because
and
what would
a lot
the
of that is
purpose,
religion.
I always say, what would the purpose of that be?
Yeah.
What would the purpose? Are you kidding? Only one chance at all of this?
Yeah.
I tell you, the purpose of that thought is control and fear and, oh my gosh, I better follow that list. And, I think I would like to think that the world is going, like everybody says, oh, religion's really on an uprise. And I hope it's spirituality.
Yeah.
Because, it's so far this world hasn't really progressed, or like history continues to repeat itself. And we're kind of in this mode, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to break out of that a little bit. Like it really hasn't worked for us, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Hasn't.
You know,
More wars are fought in the name of religion than anything else, right?
Absolutely.
So what's that about? If we're all thinking our God is the God,
right?
And we're fighting for something that's supposed to be spiritual,
right?
Fighting is sort of the antithesis of that.
Yes.
So it doesn't make any sense. Have you ever read the book Journey of Souls?
Who wrote that?
Michael Newton.
No, I'm not sure I did.
Okay, it's this really cool book that
if anybody, for our listeners, here you go.
Yeah, if anybody wants to read it, I read this in. It was probably like 92 or 93 it came out. And I've had books literally fly off the shelf at me. And this was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I picked it up and I thought, whoa, this is interesting. So he was a psychotherapist who had people come to him that this is back in the 70s, right? When you had pains that you didn't understand, you were, sent to a psychiatrist. It's like, oh, you're nuts. You got to go see somebody about this instead of really understanding the human body. And so he was learning hypnosis because that was a new thing.
Yes.
And he was hypnotizing people thinking, okay, you just don't remember how you hurt yourself or whatever, and we're going to figure this out. And he started hypnotizing people to their past lives, which he did not believe in.
Yes.
He was very Catholic, didn't believe in any of that. Yet as he was taking them to their past lives, they were remembering like a place that they were injured, or it was usually a way that they died.
I've been a hypnotherapist for 20 something years.
So,
and I've had more, and I can remember when I was in my 30s struggling with the thought of reincarnation.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting because 9 out of 10 of my clients would go to another lifetime to figure out what is going on.
Right.
And, the first time you watch something like that, you think, very interesting. When you have been brought up with those dogmatic beliefs. And then the 50th time, you think to yourself, oh my gosh, there's no way
that all these people are experiencing this, and it's not true.
And I have said that, to some people who don't believe that, and they might say something to me like, well, how do you know that what they're experiencing isn't another person to just help them learn? How do you answer that question, Janet?
It doesn't matter if it helps them heal. Right. We don't need definitive proof. If there's a problem and they go back to what they perceive as a past life, whether it's a truth or not, and it heals the present, then what does it really matter?
Right.
Right.
Except that it really is a past life.
Except it really is a past life. But in this book, to follow that thread, what he got some of his clients to do was agree to have him hypnotize he hypnotized them to a moment where they died. And had them describe what happened, them leaving their body, going up the tunnel, who they met. And it was fascinating because it was different for each person. Yeah. Some people would be like, oh, there's my dog. And other people would say, it's Jesus, it's my guide, it's whoever it's. And it talks about the organization of the other side and what you do there. Yeah. Because I grew up pretty religious and it was heaven and hell. Right. Right. And I thought,
don't forget about purgatory.
Yeah. Well, I never bought the purgatory part, but we started out Catholic and then we became born again Christians and Baptists. I don't know. Billy Graham was involved. So it was this whole thing. So I've had lots of, it's these
interesting
are the rules.
Twists and turns.
Yeah.
Zigs and
these
zags.
are the rules.
Which is interesting in and of itself that there's all these different rules and all this variation.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought, I don't want to go to hell, but heaven sounds pretty boring. Like, what do you do there? Yeah. And I remember, and I was always in trouble. My mom I was in trouble all the time for asking questions because I had lots of questions, right? So I said to my pastor one time, I said, so what happens when we're in heaven? What do we do? And he said, oh, well, we're seated at the right hand of God. And I said, the right hand, we're all on the right. If we're all on the right, wouldn't it eventually form a big circle and some of us would be on the left? And he just started laughing because he had no answer, right? And I would ask him these kind of questions all the time. And he would go, well,
he was like, please leave this religion and go to do something.
Yeah, please go away. But he'd say, I'm going to investigate that. I'll come back to you. And of course he never would. Yeah. But that book was one of the first things that ever made sense to me. Because
tell our listeners again, what is the book?
It's called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton.
Souls by Michael Newton.
Michael Newton, PhD.
Okay.
PhD. And I tell people a lot in my practice to use that book as a way to help them when they've lost a pet, because there's a whole section in there about your pets being there.
Awesome.
What happens to what we would call an aberrant soul, like a Hitler type or whatever, because people say, oh, they go to hell. And there's a whole other section about that, about what he says, according to the other people.
We'll show that book. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that really helped me because I was never really afraid to die.
Right.
But I was just like, well, what am I going to do over there? I don't want to be bored. I'm bored enough here.
Right. And as it turns out, there's so many fabulous opportunities on the other side. Things that we can't even fathom to learn and to grow and to explore. And oh my gosh, I don't really want to go too soon, but it's going to be a heck of a place when we get there.
Absolutely.
Now, one more question before we close up, going back to our animal friends.
Yes.
Do they ever talk to you about like what is going on this planet? Like, are they ever confused of like people's behaviors and all of that kind of stuff?
Oh, they're always confused about people's behaviors. I mean, they've gotten used to us, so they know the drill. They know we're confusing. Animals respond in this order: your energy, then your thoughts, and then anything you say. So what do? We go, blah, 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 dog or cat, and they learn our language. They learn sit, stay, come, down, treat, whatever. They learn all of that. We don't learn their language, which is the language of energy and telepathy. So let's say you have your dog and you are in the park and you see somebody you really don't like and they come over and you go, oh God, here we go. Right. And you say, oh, hi, how are you? Right. Guess what the dog is going to trust? Your energy and your thoughts, which is, I don't like this person.
Right.
So the dog might growl, the dog might, the person might reach out to pet them and they're like, no, I don't want you to pet me.
Right.
Right. That kind of thing. So they respond to that first and foremost. So it's confusing to them because we don't think about our thoughts.
Right.
And our thoughts don't always line up with how we feel.
Right.
And versus what we say. So to them, I mean, if you say to a dog, you want to go here? They're like, yep. You want a treat? Yep.
Right.
You got to poop? Sure do.
Yeah.
Right. There's not this whole like, oh, let me think about that. It's not, I mean, not that they don't sometimes have nuanced thoughts about things, but it's very clear that where their energy and their thoughts line up. And so for them, that's part of why they're here. They're here to help us, have a higher vibration. They're here to help us gain clarity. They're here to help us slow down, to love, to slow down and think about like, what energy am I putting out? And animals are a direct reflection.
Yeah. Have you noticed that sometimes people like dogs have health issues when people have a lot of anger in their house or a lot of like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've noticed that.
I've seen a really big correlation, especially with cats, with people who are diabetic or people who are alcoholics or for whatever reason have a lot of urinary tract infections. Animals actually pick that up and absorb it. And cats especially have a lot of kidney energy. And so for a lot of cats, that's what they end up dying from, like is kidney problems. Part of it is their diet because they're not getting enough moisture. But a lot of it is they take that on, right? If you look at Chinese medicine and kidney, the energy of that, and that's a whole other thing, right? You can map out all the organs and what each thing stands for energetically. But I see a lot of that. I've seen people, someone breaks their leg and all of a sudden their dog starts limping around. And they're like, now what did you do? Now I got to take care of the dog. And the dog is limping. I had this one story. I swear to God, one of these days I will finish my book. I've been writing this book for 20 years. I have an outline and I have stories and I just got to finish it. But I went to this house, there were these two dogs. This woman said her dog was she was a nurse. She said her dog was having seizures. They put him on medication. Nothing was helping. And she knew I did Reiki, different energy work. She thought, communicate with him and do some work on him. So I come, it's these two little cute dogs. I can't remember what they were, like Shih Tzu type of dogs. And like any client, I don't know this woman. She lives in Skinny Atlas. I've never been to her house. I don't know her situation. So I start doing energy work on this dog and the other one's laying there kind of just watching. So I said to the dog I'm working on, I said, so, what's going on with these seizures? Talk to me about it. Do you know if there's something causing it? Do you know what's going on? So he sends me this picture and this image of this woman and her son who looked like he was, in my mind, maybe a teenager or young adult, and them screaming at each other, like screaming, yelling, and him shaking. So he took on the energy of their upset And she looked at him and thought he's having a seizure.
Oh.
Because he was shaking so violently from picking up their energy that's what happened. So she rushes him to the vet. She puts him on all this medication. So what does he do? Now every time, apparently they fought a lot. Every time they would get in an argument, he would have a seizure.
Right.
Because he realized they would stop fighting.
Oh.
He would get attention and he would get a treat and everybody would calm down. Everybody would rush to him. So it was his way of breaking it up. So I was like, oh my God. So I'm getting this and I'm looking at the woman and she must have seen my face. She goes, what's he saying? What's he saying? And I said, you're not going to like it, because she'd spent $5,000 at the vet doing all this. So I told her what I just told you. And she said, wait a minute. And you can see she's thinking back. And I said to the other dog, and he's just laying there. And I said to the other dog, what do you think of this? And he sat up and he looked at me and goes, he's a big faker. And he laid back down.
Oh, how
and I
funny.
started laughing. I told her what the other dog said. And she goes, oh my God. So anyway, long story short, I go to leave after I give him all this attention and energy work. And when I start to leave, he starts doing it. He starts shaking in front of me. So I snapped my fingers and I said, hey, the jig is up. Knock it off. And then he sat and he laid down. He was like, okay.
Oh,
and she said,
funny.
if I had not seen this myself,
I
would not have believed it. And she got him off the medication. She stayed in touch with me and was like, he's totally fine.
Oh, that's awesome.
But she used that as a way to help transform her relationship with her son. Because once she conveyed to him, look, this is what was going on.
Right.
The dog is absorbing
Right.
our energy and reflecting back to us how toxic this is. We've got to work this out.
Right.
We got to go get some counseling. We got to go find
And
a way
once
to
again, the
communicate.
dog brings the love and saves everything. If
Yep.
only dogs could rule the world. Hey, listen,
Right?
Thank you so much, Janet. This
Thank
has
you.
been fabulous. Thank you, everybody, for listening. May every cell in your body vibrate to the perfection of oneness, where with pure love, where only health and wellness is sustainable. So, friends, please help me make the world a better place, one person at a time, from the inside out. Tag, you're it. Thank you.
Na 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 na